What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JT, and we are back to the Crypto Den. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. We're going to do a little drawing. We're going to be explaining the chief difference between Ethereum, Solana, and Avalanche. I know, interesting, right? I feel like if you can grasp the differences that I'm about to explain to you, you're going to be able to navigate the crypto world a lot better and understand the tech that you possibly could be investing in. For those who do not know, before I get into it, my name is Jake Tullis. I go by JT, and I run a digital asset fund called Bleeding Edge Capital. It's a hedge fund, and I take high net worth individual capital and I deploy it into cryptocurrency protocols that I believe will have long term growth. I take a very long term perspective. We're a discretionarily long shop. And this channel is where I post all of my opinions, thoughts, and research that I accumulate over my tenure doing this role, which I love. It's a very exciting thing to be doing. And I want to bring you guys the best information possible. So today, I'm going to explain something about blockchain that you may not know. And hopefully, it really improves your understanding of what's going on. So let's get right into it. The first thing you need to understand is blockchains, all they do is sell block space. Block space originally is just server rack space owned by Amazon. Okay? Instead of buying or storing your data as a developer, okay, a developer deciding where to store data, instead of like storing user data in something that is wholly owned by one corporation like Amazon servers, is really the only decision you had for a long time. Okay. Then Ethereum came around. Okay, that's the first one. And ETH basically offers the same kind of function as Amazon and other things. But you could decide to have the data spread across the network on Ethereum. And that is what Ethereum sells. It sells block space. For whatever reason, you're going to want, and there's a lot of reasons why you'd want block space instead of Amazon space. It's decentralized, so it's more secure, it's backed up, right? As long as one of these 700,000 computers on Ethereum are running an instance of Ethereum, you're going to be able to look at your state, look at your wealth, it's all safe. And smart contracts, which is a blockchain specific function, those run on top of Ethereum. So if you want to use smart contracts in your application, you're going to want to use Ethereum or Solana or Avalanche or Polkadot, Cosmos, Ripple. There's hundreds of places you can buy block space, and they all compete to sell this block space. I need you to understand that, okay? So this architecture is what you want, okay? If you're deciding to build on top of a blockchain. Now, inside of a block, actually, we'll make it an actual block. So we'll call this a block, except we're going to, well, not that you guys would really care, but the header, footer, and then the actual data. So the data goes in to, we'll make that a triangle, goes into a block. We're now talking about what you're actually buying. And then you're like one of 1,000 in this block, okay? And then it gets ordered, it does a bunch of stuff, but in this block, all of the transactions happened. On Ethereum, Solana, all the same still. We're comparing them, but it's the same. They all sell block space, and this is how blocks work. The block space just stores transactions, and then it just sends it to all these computers, and it's safe, secured, encrypted, and it's totally different than just putting it on one little box in one building halfway across the world that's managed by one dude, essentially. And the difference of block space, why is Avalanche different than Ethereum? Why is Solana different? You have to understand that their block space is different because they all decided to build different networks that offer unique things to increase the value of their block space because they compete to sell block space. I'll say it 100 times if I have to. I want you to understand that. All layer ones do is sell block space. Okay, so you have to understand the Sol, AVAX, and oh, what is happening? And ETH block space. Because again, it's all the same. So I got it. Okay, there we go. On the Ethereum block space, you're going to have probably the most secure. Okay, there's like 700,000. Oh, 700K nodes to start under ETH. Okay, and then it also, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to take a different route. The main thing you need to understand about all these is Solana's block space is a lot faster. So you're going to be able to do a lot more transactions and you're going to be able to do it really cheap. In fact, it is the fastest blockchain that not the fastest, but that people are adopting. You know, it's sitting around 4,000, okay? Right from the network, that's what it looks like. 4,000 TPS. Now, Ethereum's transactions, they want to build to 100,000, but they're probably a decade from that, okay? Um, no, I mean, that could happen. Again, they're trying to do that. You know, I'll be fair, actually. You know what, guys? I'm going to be fair. I'm going to go to layer 2 beat. There you go. So we're sitting at around 366 across the entire Ethereum network if they're using layer 2s, not on the layer 1, but layer 2s. I have plenty of videos about that. Just go look up layer 2 on my portfolio of content. So Ethereum's at 300, where Solana was at 4,000. And then Avalanche is doing, I honestly think they're around 1,500. Similar to, let's see, they don't have a network feed, do they? See, real time TPS 97. Okay, there we go, 1,200. So Solana's sitting at 4K TPS. You got 1,200, 1.2K is AVAX. And then you got 350 as ETH. Now, that's just the performance of the block space. You also have fees. Solana, Ethereum's the most expensive, all the way to Solana being the cheapest. Solana is significantly cheaper. It's faster and it's cheaper, but it's less secure. Solana only has a few hundred nodes running. Okay, and the validating nodes are very expensive. It's kind of like pay gated, paywalled. Okay, Avalanche would be the second most secure, and then Ethereum's the most secure. So what you get with performance, you lose with security, and that is the crypto trilemma here. So as you prioritize scalability or performance, you're going to get less decentralization and security. Because when you have a lot of computers that are all verifying the same state, checking every ledger, right, to make sure it's all the right transactions and securing the network, the more computers that are running that computation and doing all that work, the more coordination it takes and the slower the network will be. Ethereum has 700,000 computers compared to a few hundred on Solana, right? And a couple thousand on Avalanche. Okay. So it's way more secure, but far less performant. And what that means is you could think of it as how are you going to, go to your bank unless you have tens of millions of dollars in cash that you want to transport, you're not going to use an armored truck to go deposit your weekly paycheck, right? You can think of it that way. There's varying needs, and that's why all of their blocks do different things. If I want to keep a lot of data secure, okay, I would go to Ethereum. It's going to be the most secure. And if I don't care if people are waiting 30 minutes to an hour to send the money or the value or use whatever Ethereum's doing for me, then I'll use Ethereum. That's why BlackRock published their BUIDL fund on Ethereum because it's the most secure and they don't really care. 1 hour settlement is a lot better than 1 week. Okay. And it's real, it's just right there, man. As soon as that message hits and it gets verified by the computers, the value's actually transferred. That's not how it works in BlackRock's standard business. And then you have Avalanche, which allows tiered governance. So their block space is right in the middle. They kind of decided to do more of the security and not focus as much on decentralization or performance and scalability. I mean, they are more about let's be the trusted, we'll be fast, we're going to be secure. They're kind of like a base hitter, or I guess like they can play every position in the baseball field, right? They're a jack of all trades kind of thing. They're cutting it right down the middle. And Solana just went full out on performance. They wanted to be cheaper, faster, etc. So that's great for like meme coins, NFTs, consumer or retail applications. And then right down the middle with that tiered governance that Avalanche provides, you have California launching the DMV records on Avalanche because they want faster and cheaper because they're a government, they're worried about their budget, and they also like the idea of being able to go state, county, city level of governance and splitting that governance up across multiple networks under the same block. It's very cool stuff, okay? But what I want you to take away from this is layer 1 cell block space, not all blocks are the same. You have to evaluate what the blocks actually offer and then think of the businesses that would prefer that block space. And then ask, are those businesses going to increase in adoption or not? There you go. That's it, guys. Until next time, take care of one another. I promise y'all I keep this short. This one went a little over. I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes. I will get better at it. If you have any questions, reach out. I'll see you back here next week, most likely. Cheers, everybody.